hour, 7:03. Welcome everyone to Cabrillo Unified School District Board meeting. During the closed session, the governing board met from 6 to 7:01 p.m. and took the following action. Under student matters, the governing board voted 5-0 to expel student A from Half Moon Bay High School for the spring 2014 semester. Student A will be eligible for readmission to Half Moon Bay High School on the first day of school of the fall 2014 semester, contingent on adherence to school rules, the rehabilitation plan, and a behavior contract. On the second item, under personnel matters, the governing board voted 5-0 to ratify the release of a temporary certificated employee. Okay. So we will go, we call it to order. Roll calls here, we closed session. Sorry, guys. All right, we're going to start with the Pledge of Allegiance. So who's doing the Pledge of Allegiance today for us, Elizabeth?
No. Do we have any students in the back?
Sure.
Come on, ladies, can you come up here close and lead us in the flag salute? Just come right up here to the center. See where the microphone is?
You guys are doing great.
This is called impromptu. Go ahead, ladies, tell us what to do.
Right.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Nice job. Nice job, ladies.
You may be seated.
Clearly a future board member there. Very nicely done. All right.
Yeah, I know.
Okay, we're number 7 is adoption of agenda as presented and amended. Do you have a motion?
I motion to adopt.
Thank you, Michael. Do I have a second?
Second.
All right, we have adopted the agenda. Number 8, student staff community recognition. Elizabeth.
You know this is my favorite part of the evening.
I do.
Of every
Mine too.
board member. And tonight, we have students, staff, and community members from 3 of our schools that we're going to be recognizing for extraordinary things that they've accomplished for us. And the first person I'm going to invite up to help us with that is the principal, Allison Silvestri from Half Moon Bay High School.
Welcome, Allison.
Thank you. Good evening. Unfortunately, the troops from Half Moon Bay High School are out and about and not here this evening. But I would like to honor and recognize, under the direction and leadership of Alyssa Nielsen, not only has the journalism class been UC A through G approved, which was a huge feat and more difficult than one would recognize to get approved, she's really taken the paw print to a whole new level, both viral in terms of its how many people are reading it online via Facebook, following them, as well as she reached out to the Review, and Bill Murray and Clay Lambert have agreed to partner with us and to publish our paw print once a month in conjunction literally with the Review. So we're really excited about this partnership. We're currently seeking funding and advertisements, so backers for our paw print. We're hoping our first edition will come out at the beginning of February. And we're looking to secure 4 editions for the remainder of the academic year as a pilot to see how it goes, so that our community can enjoy the wonderful paper that our students and the teacher publish monthly. The
Literally inserted in the newspaper?
Yes, literally
Fantastic.
inserted.
That's
And then
great.
they're going to provide us an extra 200 to 300 copies just of the paw print on site for our students, parents, community members. So it's really
wonderful.
exciting. It'll
Yeah.
be about a 5,000 to 6,000 paw print publication that all the co-side, whoever either buys it or has it delivered to their home, will be able to enjoy once a month. So we're really
It's exciting,
excited
yeah.
about getting out into the community, and that's because of Alyssa Nielsen and her work. Stephanie Perez, Haley James, and Dana Serksner were all to be recognized this evening, and I will pass this along to them. They are all involved. I believe one is at the wrestling match, one is involved in dance, the other one, I mean, they're all over the place. So it's a big night on campus tonight between the musical, dual wrestling meet, So our students are quite active and quite busy. But thank you for this recognition, and I will pass it along to them.
Please pass along our appreciation.
Absolutely, thank you.
Thank you.
Next, I'd like to invite up Natalie Zisco, principal at El Granada Elementary.
Welcome.
Thank you. Hi. Tonight I want to thank and recognize Joan Fulp, who is our 4th and 5th grade physical education teacher and our adaptive PE teacher. The day before we left for winter break at El Granada, Joan brought back the El Granada Winter Festival, which is a celebration of song, poetry, and dance. This year our theme was Believe and You Can Achieve. Students were singing about how they're magical and special and unique. It was a beautiful performance. Every child at the school participated. Lots of parents came out. I think my favorite was the finale, which was the special day class preschoolers dancing with some of our 5th graders together. There wasn't a dry eye in house. It was a great night, a great day. Therefore, I couldn't think of a better way to close our school for the winter holiday than to come together as a community and celebrate our kids. So I want to thank Joan Fulp for her efforts in leading that with her colleague, Miss Angel, our lower grade PE teacher. Ms. Fulp, from the
Oh, she said everything I was going to say. I appreciate that. This was our 19th year for this Winterfest performance, and just to give you a little bit about it, if you are not familiar with it, with the Winterfest we do have a theme each time, and this past year again was Believe and You Will Succeed. Along with the program, dancing, singing, signing, each classroom does some type of poster. It's usually, I ask for it to be about 3 feet by 3 feet. Some years it comes in global, can barely get through the doors. Other years it's different types of structures that hang, or we have to hang it from something that keeps it from falling. But the whole multi-purpose room is decorated with posters from each and every classroom, and the kids love coming in and just looking at their artwork because it is their work in collaboration with the teachers. And all I say to the teachers is, here's the theme, maybe here's a poem, and they create it. It's nothing that we really, designate specifically. What do? We dance. Every year, almost has been, we've repeated a few dance styles, but country western line, 50s twist, 30s swing, Hawaiian hula, the waltz, the most beautiful year when we did the waltz. My 5th graders, everybody always goes, the 5th graders, 4th graders, they don't want to dance, they don't want to hold hands. Well, I teach it first to the individual classrooms and then to the younger classes. So everybody learns to dance individually, and then they come together, older book buddies with younger. That year, when my 4th and 5th, who danced, boy, girl, to learn the waltz, they said, Mrs. Fulp, we want to dance by ourselves first in front of all their peers and parents. So they came out, they waltzed together, and then at a moment of pause, they then bowed and said thank you to their partner for the dance, walked over, got their younger buddy's hand, brought them out onto the floor, and then waltzed with their younger buddy. So it was really a beautiful performance. So waltz, the minuet, country line, Cotton Eye Joe, and many, many, many dances from around the world. So we've had a great time. But my most important joy of this program is that it is a school-wide program taught, rehearsed, created through the physical education program. So physical education for me, I'm going to throw this in, it's just not about sports. It encompasses so much more, and I'd like to ask you to think about this. What does a physically educated person look like? Moreover, what would a Cabrillo Unified School District physically educated student look like as they move from elementary to middle to high school and graduate? Kaiser has this great theme, thrive. And that's what we want each of our students to do, not only academically with our wonderful mission statements, but physically throughout their lives. So I thank you for the recognition, for Elizabeth, I know is there, for Natalie for the recognition. And I want to thank each of you, and also El Granada School on behalf of all those teachers who for many, many, many years, for 19 years of performances, helped support that program and give up their time to help with their ideas and plans also. So thank you again, and thank you for letting me give you a little bit about my passion for physical education and what it contributes to the entire school community. Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
And last, I'm going to invite up our principal, Jim Ward, from Hatch Elementary School.
Thank you. Good evening.
You're gonna need to raise that up, Jimmy.
Yeah, I know.
Or take it off.
That's okay. Well, I think I'll be all right. I can project. I'm in drama, so you know that I'll just project. About a month into my tenure at Hatch, I was supervising the grounds after school and walking around, and a fourth grade girl and her mother came up to me and said, "We have an idea and we want to make Hatch better." And I asked what it was, and they walked and just showed me where there were two old faded maps, I would say probably 25, 30 years old, of the United States on the blacktop. You could barely see them. One was larger than the other, and she said that she could kind of see them, but she would like to redo them. And I said, great. And so it was her initiative and her idea. She just had a vision of what we should do, and we just tried to help her realize this vision. And so her mom and other parents got together and started the ball rolling. But the big thing that I had trouble with, and we all had trouble with imagining, was how could we get this to come out on the grounds and make it look straight and get the dimensions correct. And when I paint at my house, my wife kind of shakes her head and looks where the lines are with the white, the ceiling. And like, so I thought to myself, who could do this thing? And I thought of a community member, Doug McCurdy, who helps me with the High School Spring Musical. And he's a wonderful artist and a great man and a community. He is just a definite community volunteer in so many different places. He gives his time and talent to the Half Moon Bay High School Musical every year, not because he has a student in the high school any longer, but because he cares about our kids. And I called him up and said, Doug, could you help me with this? And he was there the next day, and he created this contraption with squares and wood that could do the lines, and the map came out geographically correct. He actually did Google Earth maps and said where should Hawaii be, and how, and how Alaska really is this big, and we worked it all out, and it was just a thing of beauty. And then the day of the event, when we did the painting, that kind of went over a week, we had so many community members and Hatch people come out and volunteer, and the colors were bright and vibrant, and everybody was happy, and it was just this beautiful thing, and it just touched my heart. So I want to recognize our wonderful fourth grade student, Madalena Helton, and her initiative and vision, and just wonderful goodness to do this for her school. Madalena, can you come on up? And community member and artist Doug McCurdy, come on up. Turn the certificate around.
Oh.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. Thank you, Dr. Scheck. Do we have any comments from the public related to items not on the agenda? Nothing tonight? Okay, well, the board always is eager to hear from the community on any issues that are important to them, so we'll look forward to that at the next meeting. All right, representative reports. CUTA. I don't see Tom here. I know he's coaching basketball not that long ago. He's still coaching basketball. Thank you. All right. CSEA? No reports tonight. Okay. Then we will move on to agenda item 11. We'll receive an annual independent audit report for the fiscal year ending June 30th, 2013.
Yes, we have our auditing firm, Chauvin and Associates, Mr. Schwan here to give us the presentation of our 12-13 fiscal audit.
Well, good evening, everybody.
Good evening.
This is a perfect height for me, right? Short guy. So we're going to look back a little bit, have a little fun with the June 30, 2013 audit results. And you did have some turnover last year, so it's good news that some results that generally happen from turnover didn't happen with the district. So we'll get into that right now. The general auditing standards, I always like to start with that, and I'll keep it simple because it hasn't changed much. Of course, you have the AICPA statements on auditing standards, and then you have the government auditing standards. Now, the fun thing about government auditing standards is we kind of get to call that something special as an audit firm. We call that the yellow book. So there it is right there, one page. Multiply that by, I don't know, 400 or 500 pages. Now, of course, the most important thing that we really have from the state of California as guidance is the Education Audit Appeals Panel. As an auditing firm, we look at that, we look to that for all the different procedures and compliance requirements that we have to test. And then, of course, if you spend $500,000 or more in federal awards, the single audit applies. And you have to follow those standards, which include hundreds of different compliance programs, depending on what funding you do receive for that fiscal year. We did implement some new GASBs in 2013, GASB 63 and 65. What's GASB? Governmental Accounting Standards Board. So what we're looking at is, if you were to compare 2012, June 30, 2012, to the June 30, 2013 audit report, you'd see some different terminology. You'd see net position instead of net assets. And you'd see some new words in there, deferred inflows and outflows. And the deferred inflows and outflows are a completely new category. They're really, it's an asset and a liability, but it's kind of not. So GASB's gotten creative again, which is great because now I have more work and I can charge more. So now, the real reason that they actually implemented 63 and 65 is to kind of help us springboard into 67 and 68, and this is where the real business comes into play. 63 and 65 really is nothing compared to what's going to happen with 67 and 68. So why? Because we're talking about pensions, and we're talking about the impact of STRS and PERS. We're talking about the impact of the unfunded liability that the state is going to push down onto the districts in California. And apparently the GASB really likes the state of California because they developed two new GASBs that's going to help districts account for this negative net position that potentially could be a problem going forward starting June 30, 2014. As you can tell, I'm not very happy about it because I feel like it contradicts everything that was previously issued by GASB. And it's really going to be interesting, to say the least, to see how everything falls out. This has been a topic of discussion at every board meeting I've been to this year so far, and even going back into December. And really, everything at this moment, there's no real numbers, and it's all speculation, but it doesn't look good when it comes to a government-wide presentation. So keep that in mind. It's a government-wide presentation. You're used to looking at your funds, you're used to looking at your multi-year projection, you're focused on your general fund, your special revenue funds. The government-wide is really all that wrapped up into one column with some capital assets and some long-term debt. And what's really going to happen now is you're going to have those deferred inflows and outflows, and in there you'll see some new items related to this GASB 67 and 68. Now, going through the audit phases, there's actually a three-phase approach to the audit. We have the interim phase of the audit, which is risk analysis, documenting controls, testing controls, and analytics. It's a real simple process. It takes about 5 hours. We come in and out. No, I'm just kidding. It takes about 5 days with 4 people to come in and document controls, test controls over compliance and financial reporting, determine what the, where there might be some risk, material noncompliance, material misstatements, things of that nature. And it involves a lot of analytical procedures as well as sampling, and it's a big deal. So it's not as simple as what I'm saying here. The process that we look at, and this is a basic textbook type chart right here, monitoring, control activities, risk assessment, control environment. So we get in there, we break down these 4 areas, and we identify key controls and we test them. Phase 2 is a whole lot easier than Phase 1 if Phase 1 goes well. Phase 1 goes badly, then we can't rely on the work that was done there, and then Phase 2 can be a lot more in depth. But phase 2 involves testing those cash balances, testing what the county gives us, testing the AR, accounts receivable, capital assets, looking at other post-employment benefits, long-term debt, general obligation bonds, new issuances, things of that nature, fund balance, net position. We're also wrapping up all the compliance work from interim into year-end, and then we're getting into, maybe your nutrition program or maybe your special education programs. That changes each year. We have to determine which programs we're going to test. And then, of course, analytics again. It's throughout every phase. So I threw in a couple bar graphs so you can see what pops, and of course, what pops from revenues, government-wide revenues, property taxes. So that's exactly what we expect to see. If I were to throw up 3 or 4 years in there, it'd actually be fairly consistent. Considering the state economy, it's you might expect to see more fluctuation there, but it's actually been fairly consistent. So this is actually a good-looking bar graph, and things are going to change going forward, though, with the LCFF funding and the changes the state has made. Expenses by function. Now, I love this chart because you can really see instruction and instruction-related services, and that's exactly what we expect to see. So in the past, I may have just given you some numbers, 72% of that, 70%, whatever. It's nice and easy to look at that, go $20 million, look where we're at, instruction right there. Everything else just falls way short of that.
Can I ask you a question?
Absolutely.
I see that there's, looks like about $2.5 million of interest in physical charges.
Mm-hmm.
Can you give me an example of what type of interest you're speaking to there? What our district would be paying in interest?
You're paying interest on general obligation bonds.
Okay.
You've got 2 different series of bonds. You issued a new one in 2012-13.
Right.
Then you had one, I think, that was outstanding since 1996, I think it was. Mm-hmm. And that's what you're paying on. And that's where the interest is coming from. You're welcome. Yeah, we actually spent a lot of time with the Bond Oversight Committee on the new issuance this year, going through that. They were very critical about the presentation in the report, which I thought was great. I've not had a Bond Oversight Committee give me that much feedback on reports in a long, long time, maybe ever. So I was actually very pleased by it, so it was good. Audit results. So this is what I was talking about. You had turnover this year, and with turnover, I generally have lots of findings, to be honest with you. Crystal gets a lot of credit for not having findings, and Tony gets credit for that as well. The county office gets some credit here too, because the county office actually called me in early and said, hey, we had turnover here. Here's the areas we have concern with. Can you please look at these? And we did. But Crystal was able to come in and give us the information we needed to do the work that we had to do. And there were some adjustments that had to be made, but they came from Crystal, not from us. So therefore, you don't have an audit exception. Now, had we come in and found them ourselves without Crystal going, hey, I think here's an area, you would have had an audit exception. So you're able to work through that way and kind of save yourself some trouble, because the state doesn't treat you well when you have audit exceptions. And the county office hates it too, because they have to help you follow up with it. There weren't any material weaknesses. You'll see audit adjustments in the back, not necessarily audit adjustments, but you'll see adjustments between what was submitted to the state and what we finally submitted to the state. Those aren't material weaknesses, again, because they come from your finance department, not from us. And we didn't have any disagreements. We didn't have any significant pass-on adjustments. So there weren't any adjustments that we tried to have Crystal record that she said, no, I'm not booking that. And therefore, we felt, okay, well, if they're material, if they're not significant, we'll just pass on those. We didn't have anything of that nature. All right, so it's actually a pretty quick presentation, leaves times for questions. And before we get to those questions, we can do this. Yeah, it's approved.
When you say test, what are the mechanics of that?
There's a lot of mechanics involved. Generally, when I say test, it means we are going to look at an area that has higher risk or maybe a more significant balance, and we're going to identify materiality for that area, maybe cash, and then we're going to determine what kind of coverage we're going to place on that area and then select samples and test it. So ultimately, we're looking at individual transactions after we get through that whole decision-making process.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Crystal, thank you for your efforts, and it was great to hear that feedback.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you very much.
Appreciate it.
Appreciate it.
All right. We are going to talk about 11B, receive information on the district-wide implementation of the new Common Core state standards.
And
Dr.
we
Shook.
have another PowerPoint.
Then I should not.
We actually have 3 in a row,
All right.
so.
Sit in the audience.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So Ann Bailey and I are going to give you an overview this evening of our implementation of Common Core state standards. And I just want to start off by saying to you that we are smack in the middle of probably the most radical change that has happened in our schools in decades, or that will ever happen in our schools for decades to come. Not only do we have the LCFF that Sheldon just referred to, we have our new Common Core standards in language arts and math, we have new standards in English language development, and we have new standards in science. And so we wanted to find a way that we could share with you and the community and our staff what's been happening in our district, because a lot of things are happening right now. So we're going to be bringing you some regular updates on the various areas that we're working on, and we've also created a newsletter that goes out to each of our staff members, to our community, our parent websites and Google sites, so that they can be accessing information, and we'll be trying to keep everybody updated because there's many, many pieces. So the state gave us 7 critical areas that they felt would be critical to really making a successful transition to the new Common Core state standards. This evening we're going to talk about 3 of them. We're going to give you an overview of the professional development that we've been participating in across the school district. We're going to talk to you about instructional resources, specifically the rollout of technology to support the new Common Core state standards, and the transition to our new assessment system, the Smarter Balanced Assessment Consortium system, and a field test that's coming up for all of our students to participate in this coming spring, just a couple of months from now. So looking back, we actually started looking at the Common Core state standards in 2011 and 12. We had 23 elementary teachers along with the principals from the elementary schools, the department chairs and other department teachers from the middle and high school and their principals, and they participated in what was known as a training of trainers model, where the state at that time felt that by imparting information to these 35 individuals, we'd be able to help everyone in our school district understand Common Core standards. The model for those teachers to use to help train other teachers was 500 pages long. And it did not work as a model, and it became very apparent to the state that they would need to rethink how they were helping us to roll out this implementation. So they turned to the county offices, and they turned to WestEd and different organizations that could help us with that. But back in 11 and 12, we looked at the overview of the Common Core state standards. At the beginning of last school year, for our staff development day in August, all of the staff members in the district were at the high school for a day-long presentation on an overview of Common Core state standards and the implications for us in our classrooms. Followed by site-specific activities, whether it was on our Super Tuesdays during staff meetings or teachers participating in other activities outside of the school district during the school year. And then we really focused at the end of last school year in our staff development committee on making sure that this year's activities would be primarily focused on looking at Common Core standards. This school year, it's already second semester. I was just commenting to Brenda that we're in the second semester of the 2013-14 school year, and we have had multiple activities that our teachers and staff members have participated in, starting with the Summer Institute for our Cohort 1 teachers. Ann's going to talk to you a lot more about this, but these were our teachers from our multi-year technology plan who were our first forerunners of having devices in their classrooms, having professional development, and learning how to integrate technology into their lessons based on the new standards. We also formed, and you've heard us share with you the successes of forming a collaborative with the La Honda Pescadero Unified School District and South San Francisco School District to support math and our teachers in learning more about how they would change what's going on in their classroom. And that's why I say to you, radical changes. Our teachers are recognizing that the 8 mathematical practices and what it means for us as teachers working with students in classrooms is a very dramatic change. We had a summer institute where every teacher of ours in Cabrillo participated for a week-long institute provided by the Silicon Valley Math Initiative, probably one of the most energizing professional development activities we've had for a long time in Cabrillo. During the year, our elementary teachers have also benefited from having sessions with the Silicon Valley Math Initiative. Our 4th and 5th grade teachers have already participated, and we're in the process of having activities for the 3rd down to the kindergarten teachers. We were fortunate enough, Tony was approached by the superintendent of our county schools, Ann Campbell, to ask if we would be interested in participating in a grant through the Silicon Valley Community Foundation, partially funded by the Noyce Foundation, for a $1.4 million grant for 3 years that we would be able to have professional development provided by the Dana Center, which is out of the University of Texas at Austin, and a company known as Agile Mind, which produces online curriculum in math for our teachers to participate in professional development. And we go almost on a monthly basis. We have a leadership team which is comprised of Allison and Lalo, and the department chairs Jenny Walton and Michelle Oldman from the middle school and high school, Raj Betcher and Terry Lovelace from Pilarcitos, and myself. And we participate with teachers from those 2 other school districts. Yesterday we spent the afternoon reading an article about professional learning communities and the importance of working together in teacher teams, teacher-driven teams, to be able to look at work and how we can change what we're doing in our classrooms. And then we had time to plan together what could we do to strengthen our program across the school district, and really felt the power of our team being able to come up with ideas of what we felt would be able to support that change as far as implementing our new standards. And then our elementary teachers, thankfully supported by the Education Foundation, have been participating in grade level groupings in 2-day-long sessions with the Teachers College Columbia University Balanced Literacy Program. And they are learning about the new writing units of study that are aligned to the Common Core standards. Our principals, Joy, Jim, and Natalie, are all going to conferences back in New York at different times. Some of them are going over our break. Joy is going in about 2 weeks to a coaching institute to continue this idea of adopting and transitioning to the new Common Core state standards. So that basically gives you a very fast overview of the multitude of opportunities that our teachers have been involved in and that we will continue through this year and then build upon for planning going forward for next year. I'm going to now turn the clicker over to Ann. She's going to talk to you about the instructional resources, and as I said, we're focusing now on our Cohort 1 teachers and what they've been doing integrating technology into their classroom and curriculum. Kate?
Elizabeth, can you speak briefly about the English language arts emphasis? There was a lot of math, a lot of devices, a lot of technology. Where's ELA?
So we focused on math, Kate, first because the mathematics framework and the mathematics recommended list of materials came first, and it's a very, pardon the phrase, math teachers, linear process in math. And there are a lot of grants being afforded to us and offered to us to participate. Not so much with the language arts. However, I just received and forwarded to our staff the opportunity to give input on the language arts ELD framework that we will be using going forward based on the new Common Core standards. The document is 1,100 pages long, and they're asking teachers to cull through the document and give feedback on whether they think it's going to be supportive of their work. The most important piece that I've noted in the framework is that it basically gives vignettes for teachers to talk through and work through in small groups, looking at how they would change lesson approaching in their classrooms. And the Teachers College Balanced Literacy are really the only projects right now that have been offered. There are no grants that have been offered or proposed by Silicon Valley at this point. partially because language arts wasn't as easy to wrap around and basically divide up into sections and be able to work with.
Aren't there Common Core in-services for language arts, either through the county or offered somewhere else? Is that available?
The county office does have in-services, and certainly our teachers and individual school sites are pursuing that. We also have the county office. We've contracted with the county to come work with our administrative team and our leadership team to help look at each of those components. Certainly a focus for us next year will absolutely need to be the language arts and the ELD.
All right, thank you.
Any discussion of Common Core standards is also a discussion of technology, because for the first time, technology is very embedded in the standards, very specified in from K through 12 in its uses and products, and it's a whole new approach to teaching and learning. So that's really a great thing, because it's just part of the planning and part of when we talk about technology, we're talking about Common Core. Cohort 1, as Elizabeth mentioned, is 28 teachers specified in our 3-year classroom technology integration plan, who self-selected and were recruited to commit to 3 years as peer trainers. They're the first to get a full set of classroom devices and the first summer institute. They're represented by teachers at every site. There's 8 at the high school, 6 at Cunha, 4 at Hatch and El Granada, 3 at Fairlawn, 1 at Alt Ed and Torcidos, and 1 up at Kings Mountain. And all of them came to the 4-day Summer Institute right at the end of August. We hired an integration specialist to run that session, as well as be available all year long for group meetings, group trainings. And then she will also coach them through email, via phone, or come to their classroom and work with them on lessons. So part of the planning process and the tech plan has specified what kind of technology would be in the classrooms. We weren't device specific initially. We just talked about computing devices for every student, viable projection systems, and then a teacher laptop. With a device selection committee, which was once we had selected the cohort 1 teachers, had a lot of input, and they kind of across the board wanted to go with tablets rather than Chromebooks. And we went with Android tablets for this first cohort. And we are now in the process of gathering feedback from them about our next rollout, which will be about 66 teachers, all of the language arts and math teachers 3 through 12. Those being, where the assessment will be placed initially. And then in the 3rd year, we'll take a look at any specialized subjects or classrooms that remain that weren't equipped with specific more esoteric needs. And also we'll review our labs and see if we need to replace them, if there's still any use for having labs, or if it's all now moved to the classroom. So that's still to come. That's not a decision we're making yet, although it's kind of interesting that in the first go-around of the assessment, people are opting really to move to the labs rather than classrooms. But we're going to experiment with both, since it is a test of the test. We'll get more on that later.
Dan?
Yes, sir.
Hello.
Hi.
Well, I have to say, this week I got my Chromebooks in my science class, and it's rocking. I'm loving it. Tell me about the integration specialist. Tell me about this person.
Her name's Toni Baroni, great name, and she's worked in Menlo Park City School District for a number of years, but throughout the county for many years prior to that. Lots of experience with one-to-one devices in the classroom. What other kinds of things?
How is she funded in?
How is she funded? We had it in the 3-year tech plan. We had professional development specified. Since the bond can't pay for that, we identified some of the, what money was that?
EPA.
EPA money, instead of the EPA money, yeah. I always think environmental protection.
Yeah.
So I just never
So
quite
what
reached
does
it.
EPA stand for, if not?
I don't know.
EPA are, and I don't recall what it stands for, but those are the specific dollars we receive under Prop 30 that we received
It's the
last year.
Education Protection Act.
Thank you very much.
Thanks.
Yes.
I had one other question.
Mhm.
You mentioned here that tablets are delivered in mid-September, or I should say it reads here, laptops in October, then keyboards in November. So are the keyboards Bluetooth to the,
They're not Bluetooth. One of the specifications of Smarter Balanced Assessment was to have an attached keyboard, so that
Okay.
you don't have 30 keyboards trying to pair with the wrong
Sure.
things in it.
Gotcha.
So that was, I mean, there were many considerations why we chose tablets. Part was Android tablets, part was cost, part was a promise of a multi-user interface, part was the availability of a pretty inexpensive, because it can take any USB keyboard. Part of the reason for that kind of prolonged timeline, we hope to have them all. The tablets did come in August, so we had them at the Institute, but by the time we actually got them all in the cases and configured, it was mid-September before all of the teachers had all of their devices.
kind of makes the simplicity of Chromebook look
Oh,
very
absolutely,
appealing.
and oh, boy, I was 100% there before, and I'm more than that there now, but I'm open to suggestions. So we, just keep in mind though, that timeline, really, they didn't have their full implementation until sometime in November. So we gave a survey, just to kind of get a baseline or an initial sense of how these are being used, and so we gave this in mid-December. So from 1.5 to 2 months after they got them, these are the responses. There were many more, and I think that's included in the packet, but some of the interesting ones were, how often do students use the tablets in your classroom? And nearly half, it's either multiple times every day or once a day. Another third, it's 2 to 3 times a week. And then another quarter is at once a week or less than once a week. So we will certainly,
Was there some expectation for these teachers to use the devices in the classroom?
oh, absolutely.
That there would be 17% that said less than 1 time per week?
Well, yes, and
Need a
want
little
to
push?
follow up on that one.
Uh-huh.
Yes,
Well, there were
absolutely.
only 24 of 28 that even responded to the survey.
So did some drop out?
No, they're all there.
Then how come they didn't respond? I mean, you got 28 people who said, I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna be in and all that. Why would they not
Well, next
respond
time
to a
I'll
survey?
take email, I'll make sure and take email
Take
addresses
these.
on the responses so that I know who didn't, and then I could answer that better as to, you know, maybe they were out of town, maybe they missed the survey, it was mid-December, maybe they were, whatever.
Wow. I hope so.
You're a
I mean,
taskmaster.
I think that they really need to.
Yes.
It's not asking a
It's a
lot,
high
and I think it's
expectation.
expected when you are part of a special group, self-selected, I want to do this, that there's at least a consistent, you know, some feedback. Even if it says I never opened the box, we should know that. You
I
should know
agree.
that.
And look, there'll be more surveys, and we'll certainly delve into it. This was a fairly quick one, you know, I mean, I composed it fairly quickly, and later, you know, there's other things to ask and follow up on for sure.
It's concerning, isn't it?
The next question was, so far, has the technology in your classroom been an asset? And I was very pleased to see that 71% already felt it was an asset. Although a significant number, it says not yet, or a blend of the two, you know, it's a lot of getting used to. And then we asked the teachers about their perceptions of their students' responses to the tablets. And 50% say they enthusiastically use them, 21% said they're willing to use them but encountered difficulties. 8% said they didn't like the tablets, and that's coming from two of the teachers. So that's, I would like to know actually who that was and follow up on that one and see what's that's about. It may be that it's the science teachers who have a blend of technology, and I don't know, this is speculation. They have laptops that they use for the data loggers, and then they have the tablets that they can use out in the field. Anecdotally, I think that they like that, but
Do you know, one of the things I've observed already is with Chromebooks, is some of the kids have a hard time manipulating the little arrow as they move through. So we have to USB mics. So you have to keep a cadre of USB mics. You have to have a charging center, and it's a management, a classroom management issue. You know, and just that can be a struggle a little bit.
There's certainly issues. I think the elementary teachers, I'll pass them out at the end, and you'll see that they're individualized because they have one-to-one. And so the kids put their account on them, personalize them to some extent. But at the middle school and high school, there's 6 kids through their day using the same tablet. So they delete their account at the end of the day. Everything's in the cloud, so when they create their account on the tablet the next day, their stuff is all there. But there's management, certainly about it, and you know, where you put the keyboards if they're not contained in the wonderful little Chromebook. So anyway, at this early stage, I was very pleased with these results. Could be better. Hope the next one will be a lot better, but I think that's reasonable. We asked what resources from the Summer Institute, that she exposed them to a lot of resources. It wasn't about how do you use the tablet. It was lessons and common standards from the Common Core and writing and very open-ended tools like Google Docs, Google Forms, Google websites, all about collaboration and creation. So these are some of the things that they threw out. Most of the survey was open-ended. It wasn't all quantitative percents. So we got a lot of feedback, just what they're using. And that's kind of what I wanted in this first one. The next couple of questions are about the kinds of activities that they're doing. And we, in the Summer Institute, and it's something that we'd seen at an Apple training that we went to, is called the SAMR model, which stands for substitution, augmentation, modification, and redefinition. That's kind of, at an initial level, you can just do something on the computer that you did on paper, and those are the substitution kind of activities. But then it becomes much more transformative and higher level as you move up through that model in the kinds of activities and teaching and learning that you conduct. But I asked them what are activities that they use for substitutions, and I've highlighted a few in green. They have written reading responses, skits on video instead of in front of the class, computer simulations, editing, revising instead of editing on paper. The red one is, it's not really a substitution there. It's kind of getting more to the augmentation, that they can simultaneously research vocabulary or concepts they don't know. They can work collaboratively, much easier. The other red one down there, students were able to source and examine a famous painting, so you have access to resources that you would be a lot harder to bring in. Some more of those kinds of things are skill practice with immediate feedback, writing short essays, e-books, written responses. I think one of them said she had her music on the tablets instead of on a CD. Or gosh, we still have some old tapes in our classrooms too. But I like this one. The students use the tablets to view the mini lessons that I create beforehand. The students can now take notes, rewind, and review the concepts we're practicing in class. So this is really starting to be transformative because the flipped classroom model, where the students see the lesson on their own and then come back together with teacher help to practice the concepts and apply them. So then I asked about transformative, augment or transform how you teach, and I thought these were great. I really like using the tablets as a means of rehearsing for writing. In May, we'll have teachers come and model some of the things that they're doing, and they'll delve into this a lot more with pictures and examples. But personal turn and talk, this one fascinates me, that they can then email to me is more effective in that I can listen to every student instead of just a few, And I find that they're more likely to say more to their tablet than they would to a partner. Skyping, and this is one that Jenny Scarpacci at Fairline is using a lot with her K and first graders. And those kids have their tablets out one-on-one a lot of the time. We just had an elementary cohort 1 meeting last week, and we're going to do some more sub-release days because people were really excited about getting into their teachers' classrooms, into their peer classrooms. Can you hear me okay?
Oh, yeah, fine.
Okay.
They're Skyping during class, you're saying, or I'm missing?
Yes, during class.
With who?
We'll have to ask them, but I think it's other classrooms. They may have partner classrooms other places, or I'm not really sure.
Okay.
It's kind of like a modern version of pen pal, right?
Other students then?
Other students.
There's a, yeah. I use primary documents, electronic field trip to Williamsburg, Virginia. This is very transformative, more of the responsibility of self-research and self-learning in the student's hands. And that's a really guiding principle in Common Core is self-directed learning. Getting the students to explain their reasoning, and I like using the camera to document results from experiments. Grab images, independent QR files, and there's a whole realm of things you can do with that. You know, put a QR code on some display in the classroom, and you go up to it with your tablet, and then you open up a whole other set of information. More access to more resources, collaboration, and I like this one too. They are able to try different things to find out which works best for them. So the risk-taking and experimentation and individualization, great. And so then I asked based on the survey, what are immediate needs? And so this was really great for me to see where their struggles were. Some are just buying things like headphones, and that's a must for SBAC, Smarter Balance testing, so we'll be doing that. We didn't really have a policy about touch typing or any specified way when and where to teach that, and we need to do that because that's a key thing to success on the Smarter Balance test. Now this one that's coming up in April, May is a test of the test, and it's not a test of the students, and it's not so there's no student results or district results. It's really going to tell the state how the test is working from their level, and it's going to tell us what else we need to do to make that flow better. And it came upon us a whole year early. We thought we'd be doing it in spring 2015, and suddenly the wisdom of the state said, no, everybody 3 through 8 and 11th grade, chosen for us, will be doing this spring. So our work's cut out for us, and we've done a lot of work around that. We know what we need to do, or a lot of what we need to do, and we're headed for that. But tonight we're going to show you a sample of the test, and I think it will really illustrate better than anything I could say for 2 hours up here about what it really is. It's going to be.
Okay, sorry, I
Yeah,
just go back to
sure.
earlier comment. Relative to the touch typing, is
Yes.
there a guideline out there at what stage we should do that? I mean, even now, and at my peer level in business, there are people who can touch type and capture data versus hunt and peckers are so differentiated. And obviously, our youth are growing up with computers differently, but third grade, sixth grade, what's the thought?
It's not very productive to do it a lot before 3rd grade, and it can be taught fairly quickly. So the research does address that, and I think that would be our plan. You can either do kind of prolonged, shorter exposures over a period of time, or you can do a few, and there's not very many intensive sessions initially. So I think it'll be centered around 3rd grade. We did that PowerPoint in the meeting, yeah.
And the test of the test that's going to be taken, I know it is just a test. Will we be able to capture that data to know how our kids are doing?
No.
We can't even grab it in flight?
Mm-hmm. It's all going to be observation of the struggles and where the pitfalls are, and the state is adamant that they are not providing any results. Feedback.
Do we pay
But
for this?
must know a way to do that.
No, we don't pay for it.
Okay, because usually we purchase tests, don't we?
Yes.
You purchase the hardbound
you know,
test.
the bubbles and the whole.
Yeah, yeah,
Or the processing
right.
Can't we
And
send
the
it through a
texture
box
one.
or something first, filtered? I mean, how can we not have
It
it?
is interesting, and when you see this test, you'll have even more questions. So anyway, we were assigned a window. It's from April 7th to May 16th. Right in the middle of that, we have a week vacation. So what is it, 20 days we have? A total of 20 school days. All students in 3 through 8, all students in grade 11, and we were assigned, it could have been 10 or 11, but we were assigned 11. Kind of interesting because they also have to take the paper-based CST, all the 11. So in the same window, so it's all kind of a scheduling, what do you call it, conundrum? Challenge. So all students must take the online test. Each student will have an individual login, and that's a little bit of a challenge too. It's going to be their first name and their state student ID, which is a 10-digit ID. So we'll be providing cards to them so that they can put that in. And again, the field test is a test of the test, not of the students. So we're going to, how do I get out of that? Escape. We're going to log into the Smarter Balance secure browser. Now they put out the secure browser, they put it out for Windows XP, for Android. They have yet to put it out for the iPad or the Chromebook, believe it or not. And I'm thinking of all the districts out there that cannot yet load
That's
the
our
Smarter
state.
Balance practice test. So in that sense, we were ahead of the game, and we've got it installed almost everywhere we'll be testing. Go ahead. That's fine. So, of course, when the students take this for real, they would be logging in there with their first name and their SSID. But here we're just going in as a guest. And students can do this between now and the test, and we'll be encouraging teachers to get their students into the labs or onto tablets to practice this.
Jenny Walton was telling us at the math meeting yesterday that she and the teachers in the math department at the high school went on and tried this practice test for themselves, and how much they realized that they need to go back and practice with their students, how to create fraction online, how to put the parentheses for a problem online. So the teachers are really getting in there and trying to practice for themselves and then with the students.
Okay, you didn't close that, so close Secure Browser up there in the top right, and then close PowerPoint, not just minimize it.
This one?
Or right click.
You can't have any other program running
Okay, is
and
it
be
over?
in this
Is it
system.
gone?
And that it's exactly
Sorry,
this.
Karen.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
We'll find it later.
yeah, the secure.
I know right where it is.
What the secure browser does is locks you into a kiosk mode where you can't go out and look on the internet or
Yeah.
look at some other documents that you
Is
might
it
want to.
XP and beyond? Is it Windows 7? What are they doing as operating systems?
Yes, Windows 7 as well, but they found that a lot of the state, when they did their survey of what people had, was XP. And oddly enough, even though XP is expiring and no longer supported,
Exactly 3 months.
Smarter
from-
Balance extended it another year that they'll support it on XP.
That's our ATMs. A lot of our
Yeah.
ATMs are running XP.
Yeah. So anyway, we're going to just select the grade here. When the student would log in, that would be all selected. 95% of them will be taking a test, 3.5 hours, keep in mind. But not all in one sitting. 3.5 hours, probably broken up over 5 sessions. They'll all be taking, so 95% will get part math and part language arts. 5% will get either all math or all language arts. But that'll be predetermined, so when they log in, they'll get the test that they get, and so they won't be choosing this. But
And
let's look
and they
at,
won't have an adaptive test either.
no, they're not adaptive.
In the future, the test will adapt
Yeah.
to how you answer the questions. So if you're doing well, it'll start giving you harder and harder questions.
So we're going to look at a third grade English language arts test.
Now this right here is a challenge because there are options that you can choose. These are kind of the modifications, accommodations that, where it could be read to you and that. So for most students, they're just going to select. But and particularly in this go around, the teacher will have to tell the kids what to select here. And then you re-identify, yes, this is my test. And then you have this thing. This is all the test instructions and help. Imagine a third grader reading down through this and retaining any of what these are. Now, I think it's more intuitive when you're in the test than trying to absorb what the heck this means. But there it is. That's what they'll see.
Memorize all these.
Yeah.
200 functions.
It's gonna really put kids
Can
at
they
ease.
get assistance during the test? Like if they were in the middle of the test, could they say, how do I get the calculator to their teacher, or are they not allowed to?
Well, as yet, we don't have all of the scripts and rules from the CDE, so I don't know.
And I'm just kind of catching up with you on the idea about how we could get our kids to log on early, meaning just to simply get experience to going to
Right.
the login, putting your data in and being exposed to it.
Yep, right now.
Right, and I'm kind of thinking affordable healthcare October, like what's going to happen, right? So maybe that might-
There'll be many possible places where there's a log jam, and one can be that everybody's in that window on the server at the state on that same
So
day.
the kids could be doing this now?
Yes.
In class, practicing, if they,
Yes.
as long as they don't have Chromebook.
At home.
That's it.
Right, as long as they don't have Chromebooks.
And there's
So-
practice.
These are practice tests.
We met
Anybody
with,
can do these.
we met with the admin team and shared all this information as it rolls out, because every day we're getting new information. And each site has come up with a plan of when teachers will go and have students use the practice test, and then when they will actually go in and do the test during April and May.
And they're waiting for, I mean, when, if this is happening in April, shouldn't they be
Some
doing
are.
it yesterday?
Some definitely are.
Is information going home to parents where they can practice at home?
It's a secure browser, it's not really.
No, well,
No, they could-
Didn't you just
But
say
you
that
can load the
Just
secure
quit
browser.
everything and do it.
Oh,
Yeah.
good idea.
I mean,
Well,
yeah.
is
So
he-
anyway, this
you
is,
don't know.
this is how it looks. You have a passage there on the left which you can expand to read. You have your questions there on the right, but notice she's already got some proficiency at clicking around with this. 2 parts, answer per day. You do need to answer all the questions here. You can't advance unless you've answered them, and it tells you. They do have these new 3 little icons where you can flag something or take notes on something, and this is in the math test as well, or get some information, kind of, I guess, what they mean.
flagging it as in order to go back to it?
Probably, yeah,
Okay.
like that. But you can't leave it blank, but you could flag
So
it.
you can't leave it blank
No.
because then it will proceed ahead? Okay.
So this one, you need to drag and drop to put the sentences in order, how the occurrence of the passage happened. And you need to drag and drop and keep reading to make sure that where you've put the sentence fits into the sequence. Okay? So then, we're gonna go to the next, that was the first problem. That was the first question. So then it continues along, and we could show you, but we want to be able to go back and take you to the math test, to be able to show you what the math test looks like.
Pause, I guess. And pausing, that's another thing. If it was a longer session and you needed to take breaks, you have to stage your breaks so that they're not gone for more than 20 minutes, or you can't make changes in the questions that you've already answered. So, many challenges.
So we're signing in, and we're gonna look at a math test quickly.
So remind me, are teachers
Select the group.
at each site then determining, we're gonna take this, we'll do it, and it's starting now?
Yes,
We're working on it.
actually started
Okay.
right
Okay.
before our winter break. We had the meeting
Okay.
to talk about that. So here's the math 3rd grade.
Oh, that's about my level.
You thought until you saw
Maybe
this.
so.
Good thing it's not adaptive.
Okay, trustee Ahern.
Yeah.
We're looking at determining the area of our space. I'm just gonna
Should
plug
put a
in.
5 over there.
Where do you want the 5, right here?
Yeah, I do.
You have to take out the 2, put the 5
Now
in.
look how easy that is.
Uh-huh.
That's
So
my
I have to
buddy.
delete something.
Oh, nothing to it, huh? I think you gotta clear the 2 before you can put the 5 there then.
It won't let me put them back. Oh,
Yeah,
so
hit
it
the
says they
delete
have to
key,
go
but-
somewhere.
Oh, you mean
They
hit the
want it
delete?
somewhere.
All right.
And
Now-
then let's do 9. And then it asks you to draw a line to create 2 equal desks. Well, I'm not going to be able to do it equal, but I will show you my attempt. And then Ann asked me today to do it again a different way.
Well, you did it the other way first. I wanted it that way.
And it won't let us do that right now.
So, yeah.
And this is third grade.
This is
Third grade.
So here's another question.
Third grade, use the number line to answer the question. Choose all the number lines that show a fraction equal to the fraction shown by point B.
Or P. Ooh, I
P.
got that
P.
one.
P, looks like that.
P or not to P.
And then it continues and continues and continues. So we will stop and
For 5
pause.
hours?
For 3.5 hours. Also, each student, just to quickly show you, each student needs to take not only these test questions, select a grade, they also need to do performance tasks, which involve listening to an online video, learning information, working together in a small pod of students to read something, write something, create something, depending on whether it's reading, writing. And so they will have a pre-write one day and then the final write is the next day. It could be a 3-day assessment.
So they will need headphones as well.
They
Yes, they will.
absolutely need headphones.
Okay.
I'm just, Dr. Reamer had asked that I bring some
Oh,
of the
these
devices.
compliments?
No.
Thank you
No,
very
we're
much.
students. You'll have to work with,
Are these
These are
tests
for-
No keyboard.
particular to California,
Well, there's
or
no-
are they federal tests?
There are 2 companies that are responsible for the the assessments that match Common Core. PARC is one assessment and Smarter Balanced is the other. California is part of the Smarter Balanced consortium. And something key to note when we talked about how much time we're spending on math, professional development, Silicon Valley Math Initiative, David Foster is the author of the Smarter Balanced Assessments. So there's a reason why we've been spending so much time with math and David Foster. He is helping us to recognize what these new performance tasks and tasks look like online. And one last comment I wanted to make back to Kate. I missed a huge opportunity because it only happened yesterday and because Joy's homesick right now. The elementary staffs from all 4 of the elementary schools gathered at El Granada yesterday, and the entire afternoon of staff development was looking at writing units, anchor papers, and comparing and being able to work together in grade level teams to find commonality. And Joy did, as typical of Joy, a Google survey. How did you like this professional development? Would you like more of it? Every single teacher said, we loved it and we want more, and please keep letting us get together like this to work on language arts. So thank you for reminding me to share that important information. So do you see the pictures of the students? It's their own login.
yeah, these are from Johanna Gelb's classroom, 3rd grade classroom. And so the students have personalized them, as you see. Their accounts are on them. She's hidden a lot of the apps that come with the Android just because she wants to focus them a little. You'll notice that Smarter Balance is on there, the secure browser's there, but you can't launch it unless you have the keyboard plugged in.
Oh, there's no virtual keyboard on the
Oh, there is.
Oh, there is. Do it that way,
Sure.
though, it's just
But
take up too
that's-
much real estate.
Exactly, that and the requirements are that you have to have an external keyboard and
She doesn't care. She's bored with that now.
You know, you got it, yeah.
And just so by contrast, this is the Chromebook. And we do have a couple cards of these, and I've ordered 2 more for the tester because.
Are they like $1.80 or something? How many?
These?
Yeah, what are they, $2.29? $2.29 now? $2.49?
$2.79 once you get the Chrome console management.
Okay, so you want these back.
Now, Chrome, you just log in with your
right now.
Gmail account.
Thank you.
Free.
And I dropped mine. It's not working.
And you have a phone call out there.
11th graders be tested during a particular
Well,
period,
invite you anytime.
language arts class or what? Some
The question that Kate just asked was, when would the 11th graders be tested? Which class would it be in? And I know that I was just speaking with Allison about this earlier today, that the teachers are deciding where they want the students to be for the testing, and I'm not sure we've decided. We're still in process of deciding where they'll be for that test.
CUNY's going to use their language arts section.
Okay.
But they're going to use the labs except for Mr. Mullen, who has a set of androids. He'll do it in his classroom on the androids.
So there will be one teacher at CUNY responsible, one teacher at the high school responsible for that test atmosphere, that setting up.
At CUNY, it will be all teachers for language arts and math in 6th, 7th, and 8th grade, because it's,
Yeah, in lab, they'll go to the computer labs.
Okay, okay.
so we've been busy, and we just shared with you some of what's been going on in our school district, and I just want to congratulate and honor and recognize the work of our entire teaching staff. They're just absolutely incredible what they've been able to work on this year, and that they continue to strive to make this huge transition, this radical transition to Common Core. So we're happy to answer any questions. We knew that sharing with you the actual test would really pique everyone's awareness of what we need to continue to work on and support our students in.
Thank you. Anne, thank you.
Thank you.
Welcome. Well,
I do have one. When
You got
will-
most of the
when do you
questions
think-
on-
When do you think we'll see science woven into this, into the testing? Is it 2 years down the road, 3 years down the road?
At least 2 years for just the introduction of the next generation science standards.
Yeah.
So it wouldn't be soon that it would be part of the test yet.
Okay.
So for every kid that's destined to take this test in April, what access do they have to devices they're going to use for taking the test?
So when we met in December with the admin team, what we talked about was the implications now that we knew that every 3rd through 8th graders needed to take the test, and every 11th grader. And we talked about what are your options, what are your possibilities. If you have cohort 1 teachers in your schools, and this goes back to what Ann was sharing with you, that our 3-year rollout plan got completely changed because we would have chosen 3rd through 8th grade language arts and math teachers, right? And that didn't happen. So we've talked about whether they can use the tablets, the Chromebooks, the labs, all the possibilities. And we sent everyone back with an idea of the urgency of creating a plan and getting students into the lab to be able to start experiencing and being exposed to this new assessment technique.
It certainly varies greatly. For instance, at Hatch, they don't have a lab. And although 4 of their teachers, and fortunately, they're upper grade teachers. Well, 3 of them are upper grade teachers. So that helps. And there's 2 Chromebook cards arriving for them soon. So we'll get them spread out in the 3rd and 4th as soon as possible.
But some kids could be doing this at home
Yeah,
if they were lucky enough to have a computer
practicing.
and web access. But we know significant population does not.
You know, at CUNY, the kids do all go to the labs in the course of their class, so they at least have quite a bit of exposure to the computers.
Tangential question. Do we know if the Boys and Girls Club, the new Ted Adcock, if that's going to have a computer lab in it?
They're going to have a lot more computers than they have now. I'm not sure if it's a lab or how they are, but they're also, we've been working with them to put them on our network.
Not by April.
Not by April?
Not by,
Yeah, just thinking ahead.
Yeah.
but there are the labs there.
Mm-hmm. Well, they have a homework club, it seems, so I think they'll try to be.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks for the look at it.
And forgive me for standing, because I will be going right back to my seat over there momentarily. So 11C is going to receive a report on the Cabrillo Unified School District Safe Routes to School program and CUNY Hatch walking audit results and recommendation. And I was fascinated by this and very interested in this conversation. So, John.
Super. Thank you, President Papalardo. Actually, it is a good evening to shed some light on a program that's been in place in our district for the past year and a half, a program that some people know a lot about and other people are coming to learn more about. The primary purpose of the presentation this evening is to share the CUNY and Hatch walking audit results. But before we jump into the audit results, we thought we'd take the time to really share with you what the program has looked like, sounded like over the last year and a half within our district. I think you'll see from some of the slides that we're going to share with you this evening, student involvement in walking and biking and safety, and obviously that's a topic that's near and dear to all of us. I'm thinking of my younger days learning to ride a bike in the streets and the hills of San Francisco, and it's a miracle I'm still alive. So you'll see some of the presentations this evening talking about bike safety, which I know is a topic that many parents continue to want to learn more about for the well-being of their children. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce the Safe Routes to School coordinator. She's been working with us from the very beginning, and the brief history of the grant that was written. It was written by our former site director at Farallon View a couple years ago, and she completed the grant. We were awarded the grant, and then she, to her credit, got a full-time position as an assistant principal at the high school, and all of a sudden we're like, who's in charge of the Safe Routes to School grant? So fortunately, we were able to come together as a team and hire a coordinator that's really put a lot of time, energy, and heart into the program, and she's going to walk us through the presentation this evening. Without further ado, I'd like to introduce Carlene Foldenauer. Welcome, Carlene.
Hi, good evening,
Thanks for
everyone.
coming.
Good evening.
Welcome.
So, what we wanted to do was just kind of, as John said, give you a little bit of background of what we did last year, bring you up to date as to where we are now, and then talk in more detail about that Cunha Hatch walking audit that you all received a copy of. So the question that may be coming to mind for people is really, what is this Safe Routes to School thing all about? And it really is about encouraging and enabling students to walk and bike to school. And the end result is about, you know, better physically fit children, less congestion in our parking lots, safer parking lots, areas around the school, which would also result in reduced pollution from the exhaust fumes from all the cars. So our first grant last year was a $75,000 grant. This is funded by CCAG, and it's implemented through the Office of Education for the county. Dana Lujan is the county coordinator, where we receive much of our guidance and direction from. 5 schools are included in this, Cunha and the 4 elementary schools. We did receive the full grant amount the first year, and the first year it was $15,000 per school, so $75,000. And so, really from the guidance from the county, your first year is really all about education, educating the students on safe biking and safe walking. It's that simple. And so that's really where our efforts and our money went last year. So part of this was partnering with a company called Safe Moves, which is based out of Southern California. An excellent company that actually even received recognition from President Clinton and been on a lot of the news shows, Today's Show, and I couldn't even tell you all of them. There's a bunch of them. And can you just go back to that one? Thanks, you're doing a good job, though. Anyway, it's okay, you don't have to go back. We, with Safe Moves, we did workshops at the schools. All schools did the workshops. They were very interactive and they were very age appropriate. These are smaller groups. This isn't like an assembly for the whole school, so it might be anywhere from 25 to 100 students in the workshop. So basically learning the rules, the safety rules behind walking and biking. And I think I mentioned that all schools did participate in that. For the bicycle rodeos, where they actually set up a little kind of mini town and an obstacle course, this was more focused for the 4th and 5th graders. Of course, this was a huge hit. And so since it was 4th and 5th, it was pretty much the elementary schools, but we did do something to complement that, which I'll tell you more about at Cunha as well. Kidding. And we were so lucky to be able to kind of jump on board with the Youth Summit, which was for both Cunha and the high school. So we did kind of get the high school involved here. And the way that we were involved was at the end when they had their barbecue and they were kind of coming out of their workshops, we set up the physical activity, kind of the different programs, the rock climbing wall, of course, that was a huge hit. We had the rodeo, the bicycle course as well. There were 1 or 2 bike blenders So if you're not familiar with a bike blender, it's basically the blender on the front of the bike, and they're powering the blender and making their own smoothies. So again, another big hit, and they got the smoothies too, so that was terrific. Yeah. We had a wonderful opportunity to
Is that Mr. Ward?
know you were going to be a star of the show.
Taking a well-deserved nap.
Great.
And they photoshopped my hair out.
That was cruel, huh?
I have some rave reviews.
I love this. Look at this. Look at this little guy.
Were your eyes open or closed?
They're closed, just like when I took the job. No, well,
You missed the shot of him with the teddy bear that one of the students gave him a teddy bear. It was so cute, but I guess this was a better jump, so they put that one in the paper. So this was fun, and we did this at the end of the school year. Of course, it was an awesome stunt show. It's the Rich Weaver stunt show, and he does this with his son. That's his son on the bike there. But it also is educational. Of course, it includes bicycle safety, how to check your bike for safety, making sure you're wearing a helmet, and don't do these stunts at home, because this takes months and months and maybe years of practice. We, of course, included no bullying in this, which is something that Rich offers, and he always talks about goal setting. And, you know, I think what I liked about the Rich Weaver stunt show was that he really has a way of reaching students that are sometimes maybe otherwise difficult to reach. So, very fun. We also did a Cunha Family Fun Day, and this was kind of the replacement for the rodeos that we were unable to do logistically at the school because of the number of students and the way things are set up at a middle school. So we did a Saturday fun day, and it was very similar to what we did at the Youth Summit. And of course, it was marketed towards Cunha students, but it was open to the whole community. So you can see we actually got quite a few younger students. And it was a fun day, and we had lots of healthy snacks and things, so good event. And we've been really partnering quite a bit with the El Granada Dolphin Club after school group, about 100 4th and 5th graders there, and this is kind of a great way for us to reach them. So last year we had a terrific opportunity to actually purchase a bike blender, and super fun, shows them an alternative power. Gives them a little exercise, a little bit of fun, and it also has this very cool spin art attachment. So they can do a lot of different things with it, and we also have it in the district if we should, you know, want to use it for other events. And so we were assigned a transportation auditing company to come out and do the route maps and the walking audits. So Farron Fears was assigned to us last year. This is assigned by the county. And the way we chose to spend our money was to combine Cunha and Hatch so that we could get a little bit more for our money since they're in such close proximity. So you all should have a route map in front of you, and really the purpose, we know it's already on the slide, but the purpose is for later when we look at the walking audit, it might help you for reference to know the areas that we're speaking about. The route map, the purpose of this is really just for families to have something to go to. These are on the school websites as well as the district site, so that they can see what is the best route from their home. And so the blue highlighted is what is really recommended as the route, but of course parents are going to use their discretion. So you can see that where the sidewalks are, where the trails are, official or unofficial trails, crosswalks, lights, so on. Okay. And as part of the Safe Routes to School initiative, one of our requirements, of course, is to measure, you know, is what we're doing working? And so, of course, last year was our first year, so we weren't really in a position to measure, but we were in a position to gather some information that could help us kind of determine how to move forward. So I picked this slide specifically because it really shows us an opportunity. If you look at the first and the second column, a quarter mile or less, or a quarter to a half, and we still have over 50% of the families driving in a family car. So we could even improve just by simply carpooling, but also, of course, our goal is to get more students to walk and bike within that half-mile range. There were 151 families who responded to the survey. It was a survey that was done before I actually came on board, and they did paper hard copies. Everybody received one. It was done in Spanish and English, so 151 is what was returned.
Did you box in the half hour, the half mile range here? This is greater than a half mile distance, isn't it?
It is greater than, I think they usually go out a mile.
Oh,
So, you know, I'm just kind of looking at really strategically, a quarter to a half mile is definitely a walking range that we should be able to improve
I agree with you
walking and
100%.
biking.
Especially, I mean, traffic, like, in the morning around here is terrible. You'd think that, I mean, it must take twice as long to do it by car, really, than it does to
Especially
walk.
at certain schools, you know, it's real
Yeah.
tough, so. Yes, next one. So this one is another, the second slide and the only other slide regarding the parent survey, but it tells a lot about parent concerns because obviously there are concerns, and the concerns are different depending upon the school and the situation. What I tried to do was there in red was kind of call out the issues that potentially we could have some impact on. Obviously, we can't do anything about driving being more convenient, but potentially we could do something about an unsafe intersection.
Well, we took care of the bad weather. We could cross that off.
So, and so the other survey that was done, and actually we did this survey 2 times last year. We'll only do it once this year. It was done in the fall and in the spring. And I really wanted to do this again in the spring because I really wanted to get some more accurate results. And we did. 98% of the teachers participated, which was great. And basically all it was is they were surveying their students for 2 full days, how they came and how they went home from school. So these are the modes that you can take a look at. I did want to call out that 16% who walk, we did include the situations where like they're dropped off at an alternative site and they walk in. So like at Hatch, we have the cul-de-sacs. They drop and then they walk in on the path. We included that because they're getting a little bit of exercise and it's definitely decreasing the congestion and the pollution around the school as well. And so then this brings us to this year, and the amount was lowered because more schools in the county are coming on board, so we could get up to 10,000 per school. So of course we asked for the maximum amount, which was 50, and 15,000 of that we were hoping to get small infrastructure money so that we could do things like, you know, paint crosswalks, put up signage, and that type of thing. Unfortunately, we didn't get the small infrastructure money, and we got 30,000, which was less than half of what we had last year, but we were happy to get that. And so these are really our goals for this year. To really, last year was so focused on students, and I kind of came on board in October, so we didn't really get to do as much interaction with the parents as we had hoped to do. So that's really been our goal so far in the fall. We've had several parent meetings, and then I went out to CUNY during their parent conferences and set up a table and just gave out information and talked to people, and that was kind of a way of getting to know people over there, parents over there. And hopefully in the spring we'll have some events that we can have more community as well as parent involvement. And so the second goal is just basically safety at the schools. And so already the principals are doing their part in making sure that, you know, the parking lot rules are being reinforced and that type of thing, and doing what they need to make sure that need to do to make sure that happens. But really our part is the walking audits that we started the Hatch CUNY last year, and it was completed this year in November. And we're in the process of doing an audit at Fairlawn View now. Actually just got a draft in my inbox today.
Do you have a ongoing interaction with city and county for some of the infrastructure improvements? Because they've made a lot of curb cuts around here, a lot of ADA access things that are obviously helping, but that just happened? That wasn't funds gotten through this program?
They do
did it
receive
some other way?
copies of this. So they could be looking at that and making, you know, adjustments as a result, or some of these things are already on the plate. Then do you want to speak to that at all?
No, just that the outreach was certainly done, you know, as we went through the different projects in the city. The invitations were sent, you know, for a variety of transitional reasons, even within the city, and staffing issues as well. We weren't always able to, you know, secure someone on the appropriate day at the right time. But the information is mutually shared.
Okay, so but you don't happen to know where they got the funding to do all these
That wasn't
ADA
through this
changes?
program.
Huh, that's interesting. Okay.
No, the program this particular Safe Routes to School program doesn't really allow for large infrastructure type things. And it's even hard to get the small infrastructure.
I bet,
as you
yeah.
can see. Yeah. And so the third goal is just coordinating we have to have one, as a requirement, one district-wide event. And so we've chosen Earth Day because we feel it's a little bit more flexible. It still does have to include some component of walking and biking, but it gives us more flexibility, and that way we can kind of give the principals options. We're also not locked into a specific day. We can kind of do it anywhere between April and May, and now that I'm kind of hearing the dates for the testing, we'll see how that all works out. We're flexible. We're flexible. And then the final goal was the requirement to survey and measure. And so we did the surveys in December already. It's done. I just don't have any results yet. Okay, so here we are now, the Cunha Hatch walking audit, and we want to just talk about some of the very more specific recommendations. This was the group of people generally that were included. I just want to kind of state that Peter Monica did a really good job. He's a teacher at Cunha, and he did a really good job of kind of surveying his students and gathering student information. And then Josefina Infanzon, who's a secretary and a parent, and she bikes to school over at Hatch. She also collected information from parents. So we had a lot of parent feedback, as well as I talked to as many parents as I could that I know from Hatch and Cunha, just to get feedback before we actually did the walk. So the first walk happened April last year, and it was really observing the morning drop-off to school. And then, of course, the meeting afterwards to talk about all the other things that maybe we didn't observe. And so then, as a result of that, we got the first round of the walking audit. And what happened, there was kind of transition with employees at Fair and Pierce, as well as principal at Hatch. So it really wasn't until fall that we were able to kind of come back around and look at that and say, is this how we want it? Do we need to make any adjustments? And we, at that point, decided to have Fair and Pierce come back out, because there were some concerns that we had, or that I specifically had, about the route map and were we including all the best routes. So the great thing about that was we were able to observe then the pickup, and that was a whole different subject there. So it was good to see that, and they were good enough to make the updates to both the route maps as well as the walking audit. So then we came to the finalized audit in November. And we can move to the next one. So what we chose, because this, you all received the audit, and it's, I don't know what it is, over 20 pages, I think. And so there's a lot to review. So what we chose to do this evening is just really talk about the high priority recommendations. I did want to mention, thank you, Dr. Reamer, for bringing up, there were places, if you read through that audit, where they were referring to First Avenue, but it's really Alsace-Lorraine. So somewhere in there, one of their maps got switched around. So you see First Avenue, they're really speaking about Alsace-Lorraine. So the first one, and these are not necessarily in priority order within the high priorities, but the first one is the biggie, really. So if you're, at Kelly Avenue and Highway 1, you've got these two pork chop islands on the south side and the east side. And so in order to get over to push the button to cross the street, you have to cross over the right-hand turn lane. Problem in itself. Yeah. And it's a very long crosswalk. We had a lot of complaints from parents that it's hard to get their kids across, especially if they're walking bikes.
Sure.
So this is just basically they're recommending get rid of the pork chop islands. And then the second one is just to suggestion to consider having some crossing guards at some of our major intersections or our major crosswalks. And the third one kind of relates to what's coming up on the next slide, and that is to reduce the speed limit on Church. And if you could just move to that next slide, this will make more sense. One of the real big issues that comes up with the parents and also the teachers who are kind of out there monitoring in the morning or in the afternoon at Cunha is that there's confusion. You're coming out of the Cunha parking lot, people are coming out of the library, there's people coming from Korea, there's people coming down Church, and who goes when and where. It's a bit of a confusion, so to add stop control at one or both of Church or Koreas. I hope I'm pronouncing that street name. Is it Koreas?
Koreas.
Okay. And so the second one is kind of related to that as well, and that's to remove that additional parking space on Church Street right before you turn into the Cunha lot, just so that there's a little bit better visibility. This was kind of why the next one was why I called them back, was because we were having a lot of discussion about the Naomi Patridge Trail, and it was not included as a recommended route on our route map, but yet I knew a lot of Cunha students were using that.
They are.
So I myself went out there and walked it a few. So first we were just going to put it on. I thought, well, let me go walk it. And as I walked it, I started to see some problems, which was there's all these wonderful little kind of man-made trails that get you out to the trail. But the problem is I was a little concerned. The visibility, they're kind of in these little tight areas. There are bushes around them. I wasn't feeling comfortable that that was safe. And the other issue that I noticed is as you're coming down the trail heading north, which is parallel to Highway 1, you're crossing all these streets, but there are no crosswalks there. Well, now there is, because since then they have put in the Poplar light. So there's a crosswalk at Poplar. But Filbert, which comes before that, is north of that. There's no crosswalk, and then anything beyond that, there's no crosswalk. So it'd be great to have crosswalks all through the trail. Okay, and then this is another biggie. If you have ever thought about, think about the distance between you're on Kelly, the distance between Highway 1 and Church. It's a long distance. And if you want to cross the street, are you really going to go down to Church or down to Highway 1 to cross? No, you're just going to cross. Adult or student, I don't care, you're probably just going to cross. That Adcock Center is right there. Right. The farmer's market is over there. So even, during non-school hours, this could really be a plus for the city. And from what I understand, this is being considered for some other projects that are happening. So a mid-block crosswalk it's more than just a painted crosswalk, something more enhanced. And then the next one is sidewalk issues. Specifically, I would call out the one on Miramontes, which takes you right into Hatch. So the problem here is that the sidewalk is on the south side rather than the north side. And so if you want to get to Hatch, you have to either cross through the busy parking lot or you have to cross over Miramontes, which is also busy. So really south side sidewalk at Miramontes is what we need. And then the last one is there's just that intersection there at Kelly and Alsace-Lorraine, and there's no crosswalk and curb ramp. So for wheelchairs and bikes, you need a curb ramp.
There still is no curb cut for there?
There's a curb ramp on the south side, but there's not a curb ramp on the north side. Okay, and so really we're concluding here. Obviously, this is fantastic information for the district to have to include in all the upcoming bond projects or in seeking any infrastructure. If the money becomes available to really look at these and see where we can implement some of these, and also continue to work with the city, partner with the city where we can.
Especially, I think, first of all, thank you for this. This is very helpful. And since the city's doing some with funds they're getting somewhere, they've recently done a lot of ADA stuff here in town. So there's probably a plan to do some more at some stage, and it'd be good to kind of make sure they have this in hand.
They do have it in hand.
And then check in that they know, do this first, and not that, and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
It's great.
Is there any formalized relation, we have our board rep for the city council, is there any other formalized negotiations or discussion with the city about doing any of this, whether that's you, or is that something we want to try and do with them?
Yes, that is something we would like to do with them. We have had several outreaches to the city to discuss and be more involved in this process. And as John spoke to earlier, for a variety of reasons on their end, that hasn't occurred.
Would you be willing to, if we could get you on the agenda to present to the city?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yes, I'd love to do that.
We'll be later on that, maybe.
On city council agenda?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, why not?
That's a good idea.
Yeah. Love to do that.
Be there.
Any other
Yeah,
questions?
just especially the crossing guards at 1 in Kelly. I mean, that just seems like the most immediate. Every time I cross that or watch kids cross, it's such high-speed activity in traffic. It's, but it's,
And that's the one that perhaps district could help fund.
Yeah,
Is there
yeah.
any ability to fund part of that, or?
No, but that's, you mean at the highway? Where?
you have a crossing
But,
guard.
I mean, that's kind of Caltrans. I mean, this is where we can, I think, put pressure through local, statewide, countywide governance also.
For the crossing guards?
Well, for a better crossing situation, they were talking about islands in the middle and such. you know.
Right.
If, I'm talking specifically of the crossing guards,
Crossing
that
guard.
10,000.
And
Yeah.
I did check in with Safe Routes to School to see if that could be potentially be something we could do next year with our money, and that is something that is not included
Right.
in this particular grant. So unfortunately, we can't get it there. So we have to look in other.
Do you know how other cities do it?
I did ask that question, and it sounds like sometimes it's the school district, sometimes it's the city. I've even heard that they're going out and raising funds with local businesses to get the money to do it because it would enhance, their businesses.
Historically, 15, 20 years ago, cities had specific funds that they received to support crossing guards. And then those funds were reduced, and then school districts began to partner. This was about 15 years ago, started absorbing half of the cost. And then, what happened in 2007 and 8, when everything really went downhill, those funds completely disappeared from cities.
Have we ever had crossing guards there?
It's my understanding that, I don't know where, but it's my understanding that
Yes,
we
we've
used
had
to have crossing
crossing
guards,
guards
yes.
Yes, and then back.
Right in the
out.
parking lot, or?
No, we had it at Kelly, outside the district office gates here. So Kelly and Pillarcitos, there were crossing
And one at
guards.
Kelly.
And I think there was one at Kelly on the highway.
How long ago do we know?
I was a Cooney school student. A while ago.
Oh,
long ago.
A while.
you don't have to
Okay.
say anymore.
A long time ago.
Not yesterday, so. Huh.
Maybe that's something that we could pursue in the city.
Well, I mean, there might be some people might volunteer, there's a lot of seniors involved, it seems like where you see crossing guards, it's often seniors.
The volunteer is an option, of course, then you've got there's certain things that need to take place and it will cost money to make sure that, they get the training.
Right.
Of course, and so that might be potentially something we could absorb in the Safe Routes. I'd have to check into that
Good.
for next year.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you
Thank
very
you.
much. This is a critical issue. All right, number 12 on the agenda is communications. Start with board members. Do you have any thoughts that they'd like to share?
I do.
Okay, please.
Yes, I serve as the school board representative to the Half Moon Bay Coastside Chamber of Commerce Education Committee, and it's a monthly meeting, and it is, I brought the mission statement so that I can share that with you. It's to enhance the quality of education that students receive at coastside schools and to foster strong, mutually beneficial relationships between educational and business communities. And I wanted to highlight two of those business communities tonight. One is Sonrisas, and the other is the American Association of University Women, AAUW. And I brought a little handout to share with you about the activities that Sonrisas does. And the front page there shows they service our students, and you can see last year the total number of students served was 1,228 students. And the cost for the Sonrisas services, and then they're doing another screening this year. You can see 2 elementary schools have been done and 2 sites still need to go. And the second handout from Sonrisas is their annual report, and you'll find that on the back page it's quite interesting, all their services that they offer. And then the third page there is just an information about the impact, the positive impact of good dental health and education. And it's an interesting read. So Sonrisas does a lot to enhance our students and the business community. And we're not wearing hats, but hats off to Sonrisas. They're quite involved and would be happy to come and make a presentation at any time to us as board members.
They have.
In the past, I think, some
Last
time
year.
ago. I don't think
Right.
it's been that recent.
I remember something.
Because
No, not since we've been on.
the first time I found out sonrisas means smile.
Smile. Yeah. But it's a pretty impressive, the number of students
Yeah, I can
that they
learn.
screen for dental screening.
Mhm.
And the second one is the AAUW, the American Association of University Women. And their goal is to change the world one woman at a time. And they work with our students in providing scholarships for female graduates of both the high school and for Pilarcitos, students who are entering their junior or senior year at university. They also sponsor a 7th grade outing for female students that are recommended by their Cunha teachers for a Tech Trek summer math and science camp, which takes place at Stanford University. They also offer a free STEM class that will be held during summer school session with Mary Vargas, who's a AAUW involved volunteer. And at the high school, there's Julie Girth and her volunteers. They mentor and assist students with the college application. I think Allison had that just happen recently. You've spoken to us about the kids completing those applications, and the AAUW was helpful there. And we also have 14 AAUW volunteers working in elementary schools and at the El Granada after-school homework program. So last year, the volunteer hours from the AAUW were 600 hours for our kids in schools. Wow. So again, we're not wearing a hat, but hats off to AAUW for working in cahoots with our students as a business community. So thank you for letting me say that.
Thanks, Kate.
Very nice. Yeah.
They're fascinating meetings, open to anybody who'd like to come, but to hear the business community talk about what they do with our students, I'd like to highlight more of them as the months go on, with your approval, of course.
Please do.
Anyway, thank you.
I'm sure they'd be thrilled to be highlighted, so
Yes, they
that's
are.
great. That's great, yeah. Brad, do you have anything today? No? Michael?
Well, last evening and a couple of days prior, as with Dr. Reamer, we've been actively involved in judging at the Cunha, the 8th grade science fair. Last night was the culmination and awards assembly there where I attended with my next door neighbor and her family, Madison McKnight, who won a second place award, I might add, with her psychology experiment in which I participated in. I was one part of the trial, so I was very pleased to contribute to that project. But it was magnificent, and it's my second year actually to experience that community that comes together. So many people that are worthy of mentioning, starting with Susan Stewart, who I like to call Susie Science. She was very carefully tutoring me on how to be a good judge last year and again this year, and just impressed with her passion, as well as Mr. Lopez and Mr. Williams and all the science teachers that work together in the 8th grade. Actually, all our science teachers throughout our district that help prepare those kids eventually that come together at Cunha, and then especially our support staff, Mr. Acosta, and then the 38 judges that participated from our community. It's quite an impressive feat. I was trying to describe it to my colleagues where I work over the hill as a teacher, and they were quite envious. So
Wonderful to hear. Thank you.
That's it?
That's all I got.
Sure. That's great.
Yeah, it's been a busy week. Science fair was great. For those of you that don't get a chance to either judge or be there, you should try to see it, I guess, or your kids will be there sooner than you think. But it's a good experience, and it's wonderful leadership, and just a good thing altogether. The other thing that I participated in with Tony was on Tuesday was a tour of gymnasiums in the area, along with a lot of coaches. I've never been in the midst of so many coaches on one day. But So looking over gyms and trying to understand what might be involved in this, this upcoming project, partnership with the Boys and Girls Club. And it was really interesting that despite some buildings only recently being finished, you can see issues with them and say, well, we surely wouldn't want to do it that way. And some of them, they realize, yeah, you know, who signed off on this? How did we get here? So even the new stuff, and then there's a lot of old stuff, a lot of money went into retrofitting things that you kind of think, well, why didn't they fix this when they were doing it? So it's very, very interesting, very edifying for me, anyway. The third thing was that Monday was the meeting at the Cabrillo Education Foundation, on which I act as a board liaison, where probably about 2 hours was spent wringing our hands, I guess, over the allocations. So the memo just went out today or this evening about who will receive funding this year from the Cabrillo Education Foundation. And like anything else, there's only so much money, it only goes so far, and there's a lot of input. There were subcommittees that met for hours on several occasions to try to force rank projects and figure out which were really the most worthy, and ways that you could whittle down some of the requested costs to be able to fund other things, because everything was fantastic. We had a large amount of very good applications, but please rest assured, to those of you who will undoubtedly hear from somebody about why wasn't this funded at my school, that they just need to resubmit and have a more compelling proposal, because there was a lot of compelling proposals. And hopefully a lot of people will be satisfied with the funding that the Ed Fund is providing this year and in the years to come, we hope. Finally, today I shared the morning with some of my other fellow trustees, Kate and Freya, and you guys don't know what you're missing if you haven't participated in the Community Readers Day in Hatch.
And Patty.
And Patty also, right, let's see. Not Liz, okay. Well, for those of you there, it was a great morning. A fun time was had by all. Reading stories, reading a book I never read before. It was great. I got to try something on.
So do you might pet goat?
No, it was the cows and the, what was the title of it? It was mostly sounds that I don't usually make. It's kind of, I read to the second grade classes, and it was interesting.
Oh, that's funny.
Grabbed into my inner child, I guess. So, anyway, that's it. Thanks.
Great, thank you. I just had a couple of comments. One, obviously, I know the whole community is aware of the unfortunate incident with the carjacking on the coast side and back and forth over and so forth. And of course, you know, safety of our students and staff is paramount. And I just want to compliment the staff for their reaction and their commitment and their engagement and keeping our students safe in this very unfortunate and scary situation. Obviously, no one was injured, but it's good to know that we were ready. And there's some small learnings, but overall, it was very well handled. So Tony, thanks to you and your entire team. It's really impactful and important. Thank you. Additionally, Brenda, you're going to talk about the school reports here soon enough, and just a little eye-opening thing. Mr. Ward, you've asked some of your students, and I know it's happening at all the other schools, but my daughter happens to go to Hatch, to participate in the write-up to provide to Brenda. And you know, I've got numerous questions from my daughter about, and she's on a little team, and okay, what's the school word? I can talk more about that, so I can tell them. And how long should it be? What do you guys want to know about? And I could tell that them knowing that their voices were going to be heard, and that could be part of the process, and even get exposed at that young age to what's happening here, and knowing that Brenda, and the great move with Catherine, making a student a school board member, is just really powerful stuff. And it's good to know it's already seeping out, and I'm sure it's happening at all the other school sites. So thanks for that, and keep that up, because I know it's making a difference to the students. So thank you. That's it for me today. And on that note, Brenda.
Okay, so I'll give the Hatch student report first. It was written by Bella Papalardo, Mason Lega, Matt Butcher, Mia Orr, and Molly Crest.
Great.
So there was 3 main activities that happened in December. the leadership flow at Night of Lights, which the whole leadership class came together and did. The Peace Signs Assembly, where third graders were able to do a workshop with actors from the Peace Sign committee. And then their Young Authors Week, which they had Jennifer, I don't know how they spelled it, but Hartwichisen, something.
I'm not sure about that.
Oh, it looks like an R. Hartwichsen. Community Readers Day and Books and Bagels. So those are their activities. From the high school, something I forgot to add was the whole lockdown that we had. I was up at the high school as a TA for 0 period during that. So it was announced over the PA, and the only thing we heard was lockdown. So I'm a 0 period PE TA, so we all ran to the baseball field and were locked down, and we all responded really fast, and it was all the students are amazed at how fast all the staff was put us into safe places. The parking lot and trash issue has diminished after we came back from winter break, so there hasn't been many issues on that. The basketball team gained a powerful win at Oracle Arena yesterday against El Camino. So the students were thankful to administration for letting, it was a 6-man crew and the dance team that were able to accompany them at the game yesterday. In leadership, our new ASC secretary is Callista Leonardos. We had a secret vote and she was nominated, so we have a new secretary.
Wonderful.
Door decorating contest was, I think, the week after winter break. There were, for first, second, and third places, there were given parties. First place was, I believe, a pizza party, and then donut party, and then cookie party. So they had something to look forward to.
Snack extravaganza. I worked with.
I hope they're all walking to school.
Tomorrow is our big winter assembly, and we came up with the theme of the Hunger Games. So I was actually at school for 2 hours spray painting crowns for teachers, and my hands are still painted. Classes are split into districts according to what they do, just as in the book. And they have their colors, and they're going to wear their colors tomorrow, and teachers will be wearing crowns with their color. And they're going to send out their tributes to participate in relays and activities. And we're also going to try to recognize all the students with perfect attendance last semester. So we're looking forward to that tomorrow.
Any idea how many of those there are?
Perfect attendance?
Yeah.
It's over 100, I believe.
Oh, wow.
There's a lot. We would split them into different teams so that when we recognize them, they come down as a team.
Fantastic. Thanks, Brenda. Is that all?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Good.
Well, as we know, a week ago today at 7:10 in the morning, the high school received a call from the San Mateo County Sheriff's Department directing them to initiate their lockdown procedures. Subsequently to that, on Monday, we held a debrief with the Sheriff's Department, and we learned a great deal, including a need to improve our communication systems for those who are off campus. It was an interesting time for a lockdown to be called, perhaps a perfect storm of potential confusion and kids, parents, adults just being all over the place. At 7:10 a.m., you have kids that have been and staff who've been in 0 period for half an hour, but you also have the schools also wakening up, where you have people coming up the hill, getting ready for the new day, teachers, everyone else, and so you had this huge influx coming on, and so in our practice of these drills, we always do it during the school day while everyone is already on campus and confined, if you will, on the campus. So clearly our need to improve communication to those who are off campus in this type of event, and even if it were during the school day, is something that we will adjust appropriately. I have to state, though, that the During the debrief, the Sheriff's Department were very clear in confirming that staff and students at the high school did a great deal right. It was a good opportunity to practice, if you will, in a real lockdown, our new emergency plans that were put together recently, really since last spring, by a template created by a task force of countywide law enforcement, Sheriff's Department, and police departments from across the county, other first responders, and county office school personnel. Our newest emergency plans model those templates. I wanted to also take this opportunity to address comments that were attributed to me by the Half Moon Bay Review in both an online and print article about the lockdown. During my discussion with the review, my intent was to describe that our emergency plans provide flexibility for staff in their implementation. Recent history has demonstrated that no amount of planning can anticipate every scenario. Therefore, it's important that our employees be trained to assess the actual event and to make decisions based on their assessment. The decision made by a teacher to keep students in the pool enclosure was based on this professional's assessment of the situation. I stressed in my comments to the review that it's easy to second-guess decisions made in a moment of stress and potential danger. I was clear in my conversation that I was not present in the pool area to assess or make this decision myself. While I may believe in hindsight that I would have made a different decision, I do not fault the teacher for the decision that was made. My comments published by the review do not reflect my intended message. I have apologized to the teacher in question for how my published comments may have impacted this individual, and I am now doing so publicly. Our staff members need to know that they have my support for the decisions they may be asked to make in these times of uncertainty and stress and pressure to ensure the safety of our students. I'd like to talk a little bit about our strategic plan process. This week we received our final report on our data collection from Public Consulting Group. That has been widely distributed and will be online soon, shortly. If it hasn't, I didn't check today if it was on or not. This document represents what we learned from our outreach efforts, but it's not our strategic plan. The steering committee is meeting on Monday, January 27th, to initiate the writing of the actual plan. At that time, the committee's task will be to develop recommendations to the board of what themes should be addressed in our eventual plan. These recommendations will be brought to the board for discussion and direction. Then subcommittees made up of members from the larger steering committee will develop specific activities, monitoring benchmarks and timelines for realizing the goals that underlie the selected themes. A couple of members of the board here have asked for a special study session to review the report and the work of the steering committee. So we have an option of either having a study session during our February meeting to review both the report and the recommendations of the steering committee in terms of themes to focus upon, or to schedule a special study session for that intended purpose. So I'd ask the board, I know it's a little unusual during a report, but to ask the board for your feedback and consideration of the direction.
What do you think, guys?
Do we want to schedule a special study session in February to focus specifically on the strategic plan?
I think we have to.
Yeah, that would be my preference.
I'd hate to join it to a regularly scheduled meeting.
Yeah, it would make for a long meeting.
Can you clarify the meeting on the 27th, what time is it?
It's from 6 to 8.
Okay,
It'll
it's in the evening.
be here in the room. Both Kate and Freya are the board reps on the committee and have been participating, deeply participating in the entire process. The goal of that particular meeting will be to look, and we've already begun that process with the consultant, to look deeply and tear apart these themes in a more, through discussion, and really identify what this theme really means and what are some potential actions. So some of that work has already begun, but what we intend to do really is to solidify what 2, 3, 4 themes should be the focus of the strategic plan, and it may be that two or more of those themes are collapsed into one because there is a lot of overlap. But then they will come back to the board with a recommendation that this is what we ought to be focusing on in our strategic plan. But then it will, the board will then will need an opportunity to really have deep discussion on that, because that's the most important decision. We have the data. Now let's really take a look at what it is that this data is telling us and what we ought to focus on.
I'd like to add that the new document is published. I reviewed it, I believe, today on the website. And what I enjoyed was there were some common themes with the Common Core, the way the state has brought forward their goals behind the reasoning behind Common Core, such as communication, the importance of having communication with all stakeholders. So
That was not the
So
report you
identify
sent us
date.
today?
I'm sorry, Kurt.
Sorry.
No, that is the report.
You sent it.
That
yeah.
you do have the report, but what you have the also you've seen the initial work of the subcommittee in terms of their breaking down those themes, if you will, including a matrix where folks have voted on what their priorities are and the data behind that. But the committee has not, gone through a process to formalize a recommendation to the governing board. That's what the January 27th meeting would be. And then beyond that, once we have those, members of the subcommittee again would, in subgroups, work on a specific theme or goal by that time, and develop the specifics around bringing that to reality. Again, bringing it back to the board for their input, and then, creating the final document and bring it to the board for adoption. There you go. So we can set a meeting afterwards and not take additional time here or do it online, but at least if I do that. Okay.
So talking about
Special
mid-February
session.
maybe?
Special session, yeah.
Okay. Is that all right?
That's it.
Great, thank you.
How close, can I ask you, have we gotten ready to implement our new security or, improved locking mechanisms at the sites that we talked about, some of our early?
The Columbine locks? Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah.
Yes, we've received some initial quotes, and we're having WLC review that work to ensure that anything that we do is not going to, especially a hatch, is not going to be a duplicate of what we're going to be doing, and we're not.
Because these events, which, there's another one this week, they do seem to happen early in the morning, do they not? Some of them seem as if there's strategic advantage to being ready and able to react early on during those, chaotic times. It's troubling.
And middle school, right?
I'd like to just amend my earlier statement. It is the strategic plan report from November 2013 that's listed.
Okay.
Yeah.
The doctor
that's
emailed
the
us
draft.
the report today.
Okay, that's what I
Yeah.
In your email box.
All right. Agenda item number 13, consent items. Need a motion to accept the consent agenda as stated.
So moved.
I second.
And a second. Oh, sure. Is this a roll vote or no? Just all in favor? Aye.
Could I take a moment before you move on to 14? One of the items on there was approving a trip for our psychologist to go to Washington DC. And Steve Barco was here just in case you had any questions, since he's a new staff member.
Okay.
And since he came and stayed till 9 o'clock, I just wanted to introduce him.
Absolutely.
Well, then let's take advantage of
Where's
that.
Yeah, come on up, Steve. Come on.
Since you're here.
Welcome.
Thank you very much.
Yeah. Tell us a little bit about the trip and what you're hoping to accomplish, and welcome.
Thank you. Before I begin, I just want to take the opportunity to really acknowledge the staff that's welcomed with open arms. It's been really been a great experience so far for my 3 months here, so thank you very much. Thank you, Jim. I appreciate my site administrator Hatch. So the National Association of School Psychologists holds a annual convention this year. It's in Washington, D.C. And we feel that it's a very valuable investment of time and resources to go. They offer over 2,000 documented sessions of topics ranging all of education. And in addition to that, there's leaders in education that provide these presentations. And also publishers of the assessments we use and technologies will be there to present all the latest and greatest in assessment tools and measures. So we feel like it's really worth our time and resources to attend on behalf of the district.
What's the weather going to be like?
Very cold, very cold. It's going to be cold, so we're definitely taking some jackets with us.
Have you ever had the opportunity to attend this meeting?
I did. As an intern in 2011, it was in San Francisco. I was a little bit bewildered, actually. There was just so much available out there, but you know, as a first-year psychologist, myself and Heather Baldwin, other district psychologists, I think we can really make good use of the resource available. And we really like collaboration with our site administrators. Provide them with this list, and they can kind of tell us what areas what workshops we can attend to bring back valuable information to our school sites.
Great. Good idea. Sounds like a good idea.
Hopefully it's productive. I'm sure it will be. Have fun. Be safe.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Welcome to the district.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. Agenda item 14. We have an action item. Accept audit report for year ending June 30th, 2013.
Motion to accept.
Second.
All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right. 5-0. +1. Thank you, Brendan. Discussion items. We have none tonight. My word, it's early. So 16 future board agenda items. We're going to have reports on LCFF and LCAP, approved contract for the Cunha Gym, exciting, approved contract for Pilarcitos, also exciting. We'll be talking about AB 1266, the new law on transgender student rights. We'll be looking at some board policy updates. So that's it for future agenda items, and for an amount of events. We're off on Monday for Martin Luther King Jr. Day. 23rd is Immersion Study Group at the district office. The Jogathon at both, actually just at Fairlawn View, exciting. You guys been doing a lot of planning.
New running shoes yesterday. Made our plans.
Wow, you're really committed.
Getting an Escalade, not for me, for my daughter. They're beautiful. Yellow and pink.
Yellow?
Oh, they sound lovely, all right.
Orange.
All right.
Right.
There's a FAFSA.
Go faster.
Oh, sorry. No, the banter's
Fellow
what makes
makes
go.
it.
It's good. Application workshop at Half Moon Bay High School, ELAC meeting at Hatch. End of the month here with 8th grade school information night about the high school, Half Moon Bay High School. And January 30th, an ELAC for 5th grade transition to Cunha at Fairlawn View at 6. January 31st, CUSD sibling open enrollment lottery, district office. I know people will be eager to hear the results of that. February 3rd, another ELAC at Fairlawn View. Chamber Education Committee, Kate.
I'll be there.
Everybody's welcome, right? Correct? Okay, that's exciting to hear. And we have on the 13th, Migrant PAC meeting at Hatch. And on the 11th, we're back at 7 o'clock for open session. So that's it. Number 18 is return to closed session, but we completed all of our duties then, so.
May I just make one comment
You
about
may,
letter E?
you may, feel free.
January 30th, there's an 8th grade high school information night. At the chamber meeting last month, the,
Akawitha?
yes, thank you. I was gonna call her the mistress of ceremonies, but she's not that.
Wow.
She's the
That's-
director of
Head of
Secret
school.
School, head of school, made the comment that there is an increased number of Seacrest students that are more interested in attending Half Moon Bay High School than in years past, which I thought was a nice reflection on the number of programs that are available, the types of classes that are available, and the consistency of staff that is at the high school.
How
And
do
it
they know
was,
about it?
Sorry?
How did they know?
Help me out, Elizabeth.
So
There's
how does she know what school they're going on to? They
what's
ask
going on in
the
the high school,
students.
yeah.
Ask their students.
And students are asking for letters of reference
Mhm.
for private schools or non-public schools, and that's not in greater numbers this year. So it was an interesting statistic and a nice reflection on our high school staff.
It's wonderful to hear.
Really good.
I would compliment Allison if she was here. But,
Yes, and they recently held their 8th grade night for parents, and they had, the private schools, obviously, and then Allison was there as well.
She was.
saying,
Oh, good.
Happened in Bay High, and her presentation was very well received.
Excellent, glad to hear.
That's what we want.
We're doing good things, glad to hear it. Well, 9:18, we're adjourned.
Great.
Wow.
Thank you.